All right, feel free to continue introducing yourself in the chat as we kind of get started, but we have a lot of content we want to get to today, so I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Thank you so much for joining. I love seeing this number grow, and that you guys took time out of your day to come to learn more about networking and hear from our lovely alum, Ira Disman. I'm going to go ahead and go through a few just other resources that we have available to you so you have it up front, talk about a few events we have coming up. We'll pass it off to Ira. And then at the end, we're going to actually have a time for you guys to meet each other through a few rounds of virtual speed networking. Ira, you can go to the next slide. So this webinar today is hosted by Alumni Career Services. We're made up of three lovely people. We have Arnie Cohen, our Alumni Career Counselor. He's on screen today. He's waving. Hi, Arnie. So if you're here today, maybe because you're actively job searching or maybe thinking about switching things, trying to, grow your networking skills, we do have free career counseling for alumni. So you can schedule with him. I'll put the link in the chat after this, and I'm also going to send the full slide deck, and you can use all these hyperlinks and everything like that. We have Kelly Lowerson, the Director of Alumni Career Services and Affinity Engagement. She does a ton, but she runs our Dragons at Work program, which is where she helps host events for dragons that are all working at the same company. She also oversees our professional affinity groups. And then I'm Cassandra Sassman, the Associate Director of Alumni Career Services. I run the Dragon Network, which is really on theme for today. So I'm excited for you guys to hear a little bit more about it later on. But if you ever have any questions about Dragon Network, you can definitely reach out to me. And Ira, if you just want to go to the next slide. So we're kind of doing this at the very last day of September because October is when we kick off our Drexel Nights of Networking. So these are in-person pop-up networking events that happen throughout the US in different cities. So our first one will be kicked off on October 9th in Philadelphia. It's a great time for you to network with each other, meet new people, maybe who are living in your city that you didn't know. And just so you know, we have a ton of in-person and virtual alumni events, and you can always take a look at Drexel's alumni events calendar to see what else might speak to you. And as a special sort of bonus for being here today, if you find me on Dragon Network and say you want to go to DNN, you will get a free ticket. So make sure to sign up for Dragon Network. Find me, message me, and we're giving out free tickets for Drexel Nights of Networking for you all who showed up to the webinar today. But Ira, you can go to the next slide. So I know you didn't come to hear me do my spiel, but let me go ahead and introduce you to Ira. So Ira Disman cut his teeth in the recruiting industry with the Jacobson Group, the leading insurance talent firm in the country. After receiving his MBA at Drexel, Ira morphed into corporate recruiting. In his career, Ira has recruited for a very wide range of positions at different salary levels in many different disciplines. He has reviewed thousands of resumes, interviewed thousands of candidates, and has been involved in hundreds of offer negotiations. Utilizing this extensive experience in the recruiting field, in 2024, Ira started his own career coaching firm, Cornerstone Career Advising. He is a member of 4 career counseling associations and serves on committees for many of them. Ira's favorite career topics are networking, LinkedIn optimization, AI and job searching, resume writing, interview, and offer negotiations. He is so qualified and has so much expertise to share with us today. And with that, I will kick it off to Ira.
Thanks a lot, Cassandra. I'm really looking forward to being everybody's the guide to the discussion today. As Cassandra said, one of my favorite topics when I do career coaching is networking. And I would argue it's actually probably the most important topic in your career journey. So I also want to make sure that this is a very interactive presentation. So please feel free to come off mute. I am going to ask a few questions, or at a minimum, please participate in the chat. Just a brief goals or agenda for today. We're going to try to understand the who, what, when, where, why of networking. We're going to talk about a couple of online platforms. As Cassandra mentioned, she's going to go over the Dragon Network, but I'm going to go over some tips and tricks on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about some tips when you go to in-person networking events, and also how, when you make connections, how to nurture and retain those connections over time. All right, so I think, Cassandra, we're going to do a little poll here, right? So the questions are, how would you describe your comfort level of networking? Uh, so it's absolutely no idea where to start. I understand networking, but don't often do it, or I feel confident networking. Yeah, so looks like we're kind of looks like we're falling in the middle, which is that makes sense. Yeah, that people understand networking, but yeah, the anxiety, how to do it. So hopefully we'll give you some tricks today to kind of overcome that anxiety. And also, yeah, maybe possibly some new strategies. Um, so before we get into all that, let's define networking. What is networking? So if, like I said, if you want to come off mute and maybe give a definition, or please feel free to throw in a response in chat. But what would you consider is networking? Don't be shy.
I'll jump in and give it a shot.
Okay,
So I view networking as a methodology of reaching out and connecting with individuals, and hopefully for meaningful connections that possibly can help you both out, or even if you just like each other, you just stay in touch.
great, perfect. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're gonna talk this about a little later down the line, but yeah, it should be mutual benefit to both parties. So, anybody else, any other definitions or thoughts?
We have a lot of great thoughts in the chat. I'll just read off a few.
Great,
Making meaningful connections with other professionals, just like you said. Melissa said, collaborating for a win-win, building your connections, amplifying your goals. So lots of great things in the chat. Thank you guys.
great. Thanks, Cassandra. Okay, so here I'm going to bring up a couple different quotes here on networking. Networking is a process of making connections and building relationships. These and it's not I mean, it is about building relationships, but what can become of that? You can get advice from it, information, referrals. So these connections can provide advice, information, and referrals. It's not just about connecting people, it's about connecting people with people, people with ideas, and people with opportunities. And networking is a lot more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships. So I really want to stress this point, the last point. Networking should be a proactive strategy, not reactive. Some people make the mistake, they only network when maybe they want to find a new job, or unfortunately, if they got laid off, and then they're like, all of a sudden, oh my God, I got to network, I got to reach out. Networking should be something that you do your entire career. So I have here, it should be a lifelong pursuit, not a one-time conversation. All right, so the next is, so who do you network? So I have the next slide, I'll have a huge list of people that you can network with. So again, the audience, if you want to help me out here, who are some people that you can network with?
We have Drexel alumni in the chat, other professionals in your industry. Some more answers coming in.
I got a big list coming up. So think outside the box even a little bit.
Friends, neighbors, colleagues, experts, neighbors. Yep.
Good. Okay, perfect. You guys have gotten a fair amount of these. So we'll start. Yeah, how about your family, your relatives? All right. That's a perfect place to start. Very easy. But yeah, friends and neighbors, which I think Cassandra you just noted. So it gets, the further out we get, it's less, might be people you may not know quite as well. Current classmates, current coworkers, your clients, vendors that you may work with, or consultants that you may work with. And then we're going to get a little further out, former colleagues and supervisors, former classmates and other alumni. And then the further circle out here, competitors, conference leaders, professional association contacts, and out and about, just going out to the grocery store or somewhere and you meet someone. So there's networking opportunities everywhere. I particularly want to emphasize the professional association contacts. I would encourage everybody to join an association. There's pretty much an association in every field. The benefit of these associations are, again, for building relationships, networking. They're going to be, you're going to get new information or trends in the industry. A lot of them will have local events that you can go to, local chapter events that you can go to where you can network further. A lot of them have conferences, annual conferences, where it's a great place to meet a lot of people and hear from the keynote speakers and industry leaders. So this is a particular point of emphasis when I talk to my clients, that I have make sure that they're trying to join an association. So my biggest mantra when I am doing career coaching is, if you're either looking for a new position, or if you're looking for like a different opportunity, all you need is one person, right? You need one angel, one advocate, one helpful soul to possibly open a door for you. So the more networking you do and think about the potential places where you can network, the better chances you're going to have to find that one helpful soul. So, all right, so let's talk about networking in person. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks here that are going to help you when you're networking in person. Everybody's heard about the elevator pitch, right? Your 30-second commercial. And it aligns with, I'm sure when you guys have interviewed, you've had the tell me about yourself interview question, right? So these are fairly similar. So you should have a pretty practiced response to this. So what are some of the elements of the 30-second commercial? And you can break it up like this, 5 seconds or so as an intro. You can see some examples here. I'm a recruiting specialist. 10 seconds or so about what your recent experiences or your accomplishments. 10 seconds for maybe your future aspirations. I'm looking to continue in this field. I'm looking for a new opportunity. And then maybe 5 seconds or so about what kind of assistance you might be looking for. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be 30 seconds. I mean, it could be a little bit longer. I've heard this could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. I think 2 minutes is way too long. I think you would have a tendency maybe to ramble a little bit if you get into the 2-minute range. But I think 45 seconds to 60 seconds is a good sweet spot for this. So like I said, keep it short, anywhere from like say 30 to 60 seconds, but also make it personal, especially with the tell me about yourself question. This is my personal opinion. I think it's good to throw something personal in about yourself, whether it's a hobby that you have, or you're a marathon runner. I've run 5 marathons this year, because you never know, that might resonate with recruiter or hiring manager or the person that you're networking with. I've had a couple of examples recently with my clients. Both these clients happen to be do crochet work, and they mentioned that in their tell me about yourself response. And both times, either recruiting or hiring manager was also into crocheting. So they kind of bonded and gave them something a little bit more to talk about, and build trust and rapport with each other. All right, so I want to introduce something here that is called the networking profile. It looks a little bit like a resume, but it's not meant to be a resume. This is meant to be a document that you can use when you're networking with someone. It could be someone that you know, or maybe someone that you don't know too well, or maybe just got introduced here. So I'm just going to go over some of the elements of this. Um, you can't put a picture here. I know, you're not supposed to put a picture on a resume, but this is a little bit different. This is a networking profile. This is not going to recruiter or hiring manager. So there's an option to put a picture here. Up here, you just put your contact information. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel here as far as material. So on the left-hand side, it starts with who I am. You can take this from your resume summary. Oops. Okay. What I do, you can take from the job responsibilities and duties. How I add value, you can take from your bullet points, the accomplishments that you have on your bullet points. And then down here for your experience, you just list like the companies you work for, your titles, and years that you're in those positions. So you don't put the specific bullet points underneath here in professional experience. Now, the really neat part of this is the right-hand side here, because what you want to put down here is the potential roles that you're targeting, potential industries that you're targeting, potential companies that you're targeting, and desired contacts. So like for me, if I was wanting a recruiting position, maybe it's, the VP of HR or a recruiting director or something along those lines. So yeah, so this is something that you really should consider sending along to that networking contact. And this will also help you organize your own thoughts, kind of organize your own job search, just kind of having all this down here on paper. All right, so I'm going to give you a few other tips and tricks here. So when you go to a networking, this is talking about when you're going to a live networking event. You want to have a goal in mind when you go there, whether it's to meet people or learn new information or maybe trends in the industry. If you can, ahead of time, try to see who's coming to the event and maybe try to target to talk to certain people that may be of interest to you. Alrighty. These events, it's okay to be nervous. I think everybody goes to a networking event and is nervous. So the way to maybe break that a little bit, find someone that's maybe standing alone, ask them, if you can, join them in conversation. If there are two people who are in a conversation, maybe just stand by the side. A lot of times they'll invite you in or wait till they finish their conversation. Or just if you see a big group talking, just go ahead and join the group. Okay. And some ways to break the ice here is, ask them about open-ended questions about the individual. What brought you here? How'd you get started? What projects are you working on? And then have a support group. So, who can hold you accountable, whether it's, whether you're working with a mentor or, a spouse, a coworker, or someone who can maybe hold you accountable when you go to these networking events. Now, a really, really cool trick here, some of you might know about this trick, but when you go to an event, on your phone, if you have your LinkedIn app on your phone, you can bring up your QR code. So what you do is you bring up your app, you bring up your search bar here, and you see the little QR code right there. You bring that up, and that gives you the ability to either scan someone's LinkedIn or they can scan your LinkedIn QR code. So it's just a real easy way to connect with somebody on LinkedIn. All right, so let's talk about when you're networking virtually. So I want to show you this trick that LinkedIn, they implemented this a couple years ago. So this will help you find some folks, and we'll use Drexel as Drexel alums here. And this will help you maybe find some folks that you can network with, utilize your Dragon connections. So what you want to do is you go to Drexel and you hit on this alumni tab right here, and then you can click in a search word here. So you can put in a title, your title, yeah, your field that you're in. And what that will do is that'll bring us. So I'm just going to use recruiter. So if I put recruiter in as the, sorry, if I put recruiter in as a keyword, it's going to show me the folks on LinkedIn who had either had a recruiter title currently or had one previously and where they work. And then you can use these arrows up here, up in left, right arrows, and it gives you a little bit more detail, like what they studied, how you're connected. And then when you click, like say I clicked on Drexel University here, this will show me down below the 14 people that either have recruiter in their title and who either currently work at Drexel or work there at one point in time. So then you can utilize your connections. So you see a bunch of these people are second connections. So if I wanted to reach out to Gina Kerwin, I would reach out to my first connections right here. Like I would say, I would maybe, if I knew Debbie Clower well enough, I would reach out to her and say, yeah, I'd like to be connected to Gina Kerwin, and would you please introduce me? So it's a really effective tool to, depending what field of study you're in, to connect with Drexel alums. Now, there's an opposite way you can do this. Say there's a certain company you wanted to, that you're interested in working in. So what you do, and we'll use Comcast as an example, because I know Comcast is obviously a big employer in the Philadelphia area. A fair amount of Drexel alums work there. You would go to Comcast, and then you would hit the People tab here. And then you would put in Drexel University in the search area, and then it'll show, same thing, it'll show you where they live, where they studied. It'll show you what different departments that they work in. And then again, it'll show you the people. So if they were in recruiters or in HR, they would show underneath there. And then again, you could get connected to them. All right. And then I want to emphasize, it's really important for you to join groups on LinkedIn. It's another great way for you to network, to find people you can network with, and also to find out different information and trends in your industry. So there is the Drexel Alumni Networking Group. So if you do not belong there, certainly go ahead and join that. But there are also different industry groups. So there's an example here, engineering. You can see this is probably one of them, probably hundreds of groups that are in engineering. But this looks like a pretty hardy one. This has 566,000 members in it. So you definitely want to join these groups. Nice thing about these groups, sometimes they will have job postings. Sometimes if you want, you can make a post in there, make posts, either something, a trend in the industry or something that you feel like you're an expert in. If you're looking for a new position, you can actually put a post out there about your background and what you might be looking for. So it's really important to utilize some of these tools that LinkedIn has, particularly joining groups and the alumni tab that I just mentioned to you. Okay, I think Cassandra, you're going to go over the Dragon Network.
Yeah, I'll pop in here really quick. So, Dragon Network, if you aren't already familiar with it, is essentially Drexel's very own LinkedIn. So, we always suggest using these tools in tandem. So we're not saying don't use LinkedIn or only use Dragon Network, but really using them both together can help you maximize on any networking that you're doing. But Dragon Network is Drexel's exclusive online platform. It's great for expanding your network. We have over 14,000 members there. 10,000 of those are alumni. 4,000 of those are students. You can find your next opportunity. We have an internal job board on Dragon Network, and you can also explore career options. So this is a great way if you're still in that phase where you're maybe thinking about making a career transition or still trying to figure out what you want to do. There's a lot of tools on there. Ira, you could go to the next page. But the main thing I really want to encourage you to look at is the community page. Dragon Network is amazing because there's so many features, but I think it can be a little bit easy for people to get lost. But for today's purposes, I really want to encourage you to log into Dragon Network. Look at the community. This is where you can explore every single person that has an account. And on Dragon Network, you can message people and video call people directly. So on LinkedIn, if you have a free account, you can only message so many new people within a certain time frame. On Dragon Network, since everybody's opting into this Drexel community, you can really send as many messages as you would like. But how you're going to do this is you're going to sign up at dragonnetwork.drexel.edu. At the end of this, I'll put it in the chat. You can sign up through your email or through your LinkedIn. So you'll be able to sync your LinkedIn directly. That way you get all your professional history already on your account when you sign up. You're going to complete your entire profile. Most importantly, and this goes for LinkedIn too, add a profile picture. You're more likely to get a response when you have some sort of profile picture. Again, networking is all about building these connections. So the sooner you can sort of make that bridge of where you're not just a random person with a letter for their profile picture, they can identify with you. You can already start building that connection the second you send a message. You're going to hover over connect and click on community. Again, this is where you can view everybody. 14,000 is a lot of people. It's too many people to just scroll through endlessly and look, but Dragon Network has a ton of built-in filters that allow you to find the alumni that you most want to connect with. So you can filter and find alumni by company. If you just move to an area, if you move to Chicago, you could find all the alumni on Dragon Network that live within 20 miles of Chicago. You can sort by major, you can sort by school if you're looking for other LeBeau or Westfall alums. And then there's two really cool questions that we ask all alumni when they sign up for Dragon Network. And one is, which of the following opportunities are you interested in? And you can sort by this filter. And one answer is helping to hire a co-op or full or part-time positions. So these are alumni that maybe they're directly involved in the hiring process, maybe they're a recruiter, or maybe they own their own business and are looking to, help supply other Drexel alumni with opportunities. Those would be great folks for you to reach out to. And then we also have this really cool identity-based question. So again, networking, it's all about finding what you have in common with someone else and reaching out. And this can be another way to do that. So if you're an international student, maybe you're looking for an alum who is also an international student that could provide you some guidance. You can find other alumni who are veterans or first generation students or transfer students into Drexel. And again, it kind of helps bridge that gap off the cuff. And then the last thing I want to highlight is that on you'll notice on some profiles, there's an icon. Sorry, it's so small here, but you'll see in that middle picture, there's a yellow badge. So, oops, are we good? You okay, Ira? I think it stopped sharing. But you'll notice and I'll turn back on my camera. You'll notice on some people's profiles how there's going to be a little badge. Sometimes that's a lightning bolt and that shows the people that are most active. Sometimes it'll say they've made 10 connections on the platform. That's another great way for you to figure out who to reach out to. Because when it comes to virtual networking, I think a lot of times it is a bit of a numbers game. Unlike in person, where you're not going to ignore me, online it's really easy for us to do that. On Dragon Network, we have a 50% response rate, but be intentional, but cast a wide net at the same time. Reach out to more than one person. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But looking for those people who are most engaged are going to help you with your response rate. And I know Ira's just about to talk about this, but the more intentional your message is, the more intentional people are going to be when they respond back to you. The better the message, the better the response. If you just send out copy paste messages is to all 14,000 people on here, they're going to be like, why are you reaching out to me? Like, did you actually look at my profile? Because again, you want it to be a win-win. So we don't just want to like take from people. You're trying to show like we have a connection. This is a mutually beneficial relationship for us to grow. But Ira's going to get to that. If you have any questions at all about Dragon Network, please let me know. But I'll bounce it back to him. And I think we're good on questions in the chat. Yeah, and I'll let Ira take it from here for the next 5 or so minutes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sandy. Sorry, I don't know if the technological blip. I don't know if that was me or what happened, or that was okay. Alrighty. So this is here's an example of a message that Cassandra was just mentioning about when you send out and you want to get an introduction to someone. So let's review this message really quick. Does this look like yeah, is this a good example of a message, or what do we think? Do you think it's good, or do you think we could maybe enhance this? Don't be shy.
Someone said, yeah, we have some questions, some comments in the chat, Ira.
Okay, good.
Seems generic, one-sided, too much ask. Yeah, totally
Okay,
agree.
perfect. Very good. Yep, exactly. So let's look at this. Could this be this is a better message, right? I hope this message finds you well. They're giving a little bit about their background. Your profile stood out to me, so it shows that they did a little bit of research on the person that they're reaching out to you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and learn more than not just asking about a job. You know, they're interested in their, public health. So your time in Argentina sounds incredible. So they really researched this person. They really got to know them and really gave some really good concrete reasons why they want to reach out to this person. They gave some time frames about when they're available. So yeah, this is a much better message than the first one. So yeah, so sending message shows that you've done your research. Be empathetic, introduce who you are, share why you're reaching out. Yeah, discuss some commonalities that you might have and make what you're asking clear. Yeah, express gratitude and feel free to follow up. And then afterwards, whether you met someone in person or whether you have met with them virtually, there are definitely some things you would be good for you to do. So immediately after the conversation, jot down some notes for your own sake. Send a thank you email within 24 hours. You maybe want to follow up on specific items. If you're not already connected on LinkedIn, send a LinkedIn request and reach out to any contacts that they suggested. And when you do that, when you do reach out to contacts, keep them in the loop about what happened. Thanks for your referral to John. I was able to speak to John. We had a great conversation. So definitely keep them in the loop. There's an example of follow-up. And I think, Cassandra, you said you're going to send some of these out afterwards, right?
Yeah, we'll send, and Ira has a few different examples written, and you'll get that all after the webinar. So if you want to kind of copy these, we'll send that to you afterwards.
Okay, great. And then I think, Cassandra, you and your team came up with this kind of nifty tool, this networking tracker. So after, right after your networking event or after you speak to someone, maybe set this Excel spreadsheet up for yourself. Name, the person you talked to, their title, the company, their email, phone, how we met, and then maybe, put some personal info in here, the advice that they maybe gave you, when you last followed up with them, and then again, some new contacts they suggested. If you go back to this at certain points in time, I think it'd be really useful because I think it's really hard on LinkedIn to do this type of note taking, and so I think this is like really good idea if you can do something like this. All righty, so yeah, definitely obviously want to stay in touch with these folks. So it does take time. So you know, as time goes on, comment on their LinkedIn posts, find opportunities to see them again. Maybe you'll see them, at a networking event. As I mentioned, like especially if it's an association, you might see them at different events in association. Use holidays, birthdays, New Year's to reconnect. Just check in occasionally, how they're doing, maybe what's new with them. If you have any exciting updates about yourself, send those out. Ask any follow-up questions. Send a thank you again when their advice is relevant. And yeah, share an article or other industry trends that remind you of them or you think that they might be interested in.